There's no shortage of sun in Africa. So could solar power be part of daily life here? That's one of the topics in this new edition of EcoAfrica. I'm Malama Mukonde in Lusaka, Zambia, and over in Lagos, Nigeria is my colleague, Chris Elems, who's always on pulse in Africa's biggest city.
Thank you, Malama. Let's look at what's coming up on today's show. A school bag that's transforming classrooms in Uganda. Urban cycling in Dakar, not without challenges. And how simple measures help a community in Ghana to cope with water shortage. Did you know that Africa has the biggest solar energy potential in the world? Because not everyone does. It takes forward-thinking initiatives to recognize this immense resource. In Ivory Coast, we met a woman entrepreneur with the nickname Mama Solar, Solar Mother. Let's see how she's earned this name.
Bonsoir. Bonsoir, les gars.
Bringing solar power to the most remote corners of Ivory Coast, entrepreneur Bénédicte Larissa-Doua has made this her mission.
Je monte, tu me donnes les panneaux bien équilibrés.
The goal today is to install solar panels here on this isolated farm, which isn't connected to the national grid. The farmer has invested in a 500-watt solar panel system to meet his electricity needs. Today, with solar energy equipment, it's important to point out that there's no longer any VAT, which makes it possible to run solar power systems at lower costs. That makes it easier for her to find customers. Bénédicte Larissa-Doua has been working in the solar industry for 13 years. Few women work in the sector, and especially not as entrepreneurs. We raise awareness among the population, teaching people that solar energy is clean energy and there's a good return on investment. My motivation is that this business is economically viable and also protects the environment. What I like most about my job is when I finished installing a system, I switch it on and everything works. And the customer goes, finally. Making sure that everything goes smoothly means being conscientious and thorough. Committed as she is, Doua says that for a number of reasons, the solar sector is developing sluggishly in Ivory Coast. There were lots of installations that didn't work. One problem was that there was no political will to train technicians in the solar sector properly. So, badly installed systems meant the general public had a poor impression of solar energy. The first solar panel systems were installed in 2011. Since then, Ivory Coast has set itself ambitious targets. By 2030, the country wants to meet 47% of its energy needs with renewable sources, including 7% from solar energy. To achieve this, the government has scrapped VAT on solar equipment, such as panels, batteries, inverters, and cables. It used to be 9%. It's a policy that entrepreneur Bénédicte Larissa-Doua welcomes. She hopes the next step will be the grid injection. Take this customer. He has a surplus. He's already managing to be autonomous and powering all his appliances. But there's a surplus that isn't being used. If there were a grid injection in Ivory Coast, he would feed that surplus into the national grid. He would get paid for it, and if he happens to need more energy, he would get it from the grid. She's confident that such a measure would help boost the sector. In the meantime, she's focusing on training. The country still lacks practical training opportunities for people in the renewable energy sector. With the Institute E3C, Bénédicte Larissa-Doua and other players in the sector support professionals who are retraining or looking to specialize. To have a good installation, you need a good technician, and a good technician requires good training. Otherwise, it's disastrous and people will lose faith in renewable energies. Another major challenge is ensuring diversity in the field. There's only one woman attending today's training. She's explained about opportunities in the field of solar energy and said no one is making the most of them right now. That's why I decided to come and do the training. Many people who trained with Bénédicte Larissa-Doua have gone on to successful and completely unexpected careers. Joël Bakomtali is in charge of technical services at Baobab Plus, a banking service offering financing solutions for solar products. A career he could never have imagined. I didn't know there was a connection between solar energy and banking, but then I joined a company that's part of a group. There's a banking side to the operation, and there's the company itself, which specializes in everything to do with renewable energies and digital solutions. At the start of her career, Bénédicte Larissa-Doua found it difficult to get a loan. These days, it's much easier to get financing for solar projects. We told ourselves that things were moving forward. Personally, I really believed they would, but I was a little premature. I didn't know it was going to take more than 10 years. The entrepreneur hopes to continue inspiring others, including her 3 sons. You're going to grab the ladder, and then you're going to look at the panels, and I'm going to explain something to you. Got it? Dao was an early adopter, equipping her house with solar power to avoid load shedding. She now has an even more efficient installation on the roof, with solar panels and a solar water pump. At first, my sons were too small to understand, but they get it now that they're older. Even when there's a power cut, we still have solar power. All our energy needs are met, and they are proud. They tell their friends that when there's no power, we still got energy. We don't have problem with power cuts. She hopes that one of her sons will one day continue her mission of promoting solar energy in Ivory Coast.
Education is the key to progress, and that's something we can all agree on. But in millions of Africa's schools, furniture is missing, which makes learning difficult. We go to a Ugandan school where a new project is packing a real surprise into school bags. This week's Doing Your Bit.
An appreciative round of applause. But just for someone sitting on a stool? The young audience are used to sitting on the bare floor because the school they attend simply doesn't have the money for chairs and desks.
They complain, even parents complain about that. They ask when to buy furniture, but the problem is money. We always fail to get money because most of the learners are orphans. And the parents, those who are not orphans, parents are low earners. They wash clothes for other people to get money, like that. And most of them are low earners.
But this morning, Discovery Primary School in the Ugandan capital, Kampala, is getting a special delivery. Purpose-built seat packs, which each contain a little fold-up stool with legs made of renewable bamboo. The cost to the school? Nothing, thanks to an NGO covering the production costs. Its founder, Arnold Mugaga, is a qualified architect and social entrepreneur. The project is financed through both commercial bag sales and international fundraising partnerships.
For every seat park, perhaps an activity that fundraises for it. And we take these finances and give the seat parks at no extra charge to the child. We only require that the child pay one fee. Daily attendance. They must go to school.
The stools have definitely been a pleasant surprise for the pupils.
What interested me that there was bamboo sticks. I thought, what are those bamboo sticks for what? For beating us? For what? But now I saw that it is just for sitting down. Now I saw that it is very important because some of us we are even sitting on a floor.
The kits also include individual blackboards complete with chalk for writing or drawing. And that's not all.
This is a menstrual pouch with a menstrual pad It is a reusable pad for a girl child when they're on their periods. And this is a solar panel. This solar panel helps a student to use at home when it is dark. Finally, this is how our bag looks like.
By 2030, Arnold Mugaga plans to have given these seat packs to 1 million school children across Africa.
This way they don't have to wait for a tree to be taken down, processed into timber, turned into a desk, a table, or a chair. And they simply have a very mobile bamboo stool that moves around with them wherever they are. In a sense, the classroom follows the child. Where the child is, the classroom is.
In many rural areas, cycling is a popular commute option, but in big African cities, this is more an exception. Everyone who can afford a car drives one. The result, congested streets and poor air quality. In Dakar, a growing number of residents are reversing the trend.
Cycling here in Dakar is definitely not for the faint-hearted. Philip Moreira is a doctor and commutes to work in a hospital every morning by e-bike, braving polluted air and roads clogged with traffic.
I've had several close calls with drivers who didn't respect my space and almost ran me off the road. So I had to work out a strategy. Now, I know exactly when to start changing lanes and what signals to make and when to check behind me. With drivers who cut you off and on constantly, it can be challenging to stay focused.
The cycling community in the capital of Senegal is small but growing steadily. It's a way of keeping fit while also helping the environment. By not driving a car, they're reducing carbon emissions.
My goal is to cycle to work. That way, I'm doing something active and keeping fit. Going to work by bike is a good thing to do.
Unlike in rural areas, many women here in Dakar have never mastered the art of two-wheeler. Many only dare venture out on their bikes at the weekend when there is less traffic. The trouble is that car drivers in Senegal don't pay any attention to cyclists.
There's no respect, not even for the basic rules. It's even tougher if you're a woman. Some people don't even care you're male or female. Sometimes you get really shoved out, especially by guys on motorcycles. They'll nudge you, push you around, so you really have to stand your ground.
According to a 2022 report by the United Nations Environmental Programme, more people work or cycle in Africa than anywhere else in the world, often because they have no other option. But with cities growing and incomes rising, urban traffic is increasing. According to the UN Environment Programme, the rapid and unregulated expansion of African cities has made the continent the deadliest for cyclists and pedestrians. Senegal is one of the few African countries that has at least factored cyclists into its transport development plans. Dakar's Urban Transport Agency wants to establish a 175-kilometer network of cycle paths by the year 2035. But there have already been delays in construction, and the cycling community has other doubts too.
Cyclists don't always recognize the bike lanes. Even where there is a bike lane, instead of using it, we end up riding on the main road. So ideally, bike lanes would have signs that clearly show where they are. And another problem is that we have to share these lanes with motorbikes.
Many complain that the government has yet to provide sustained support for cycling in Senegal's cities, even though it reduces air pollution. But committed cyclists remained undeterred, and at least during this race organized by the Senegalese Cycling Union, the streets of Dakar belong to them.
Back to Europe, we all know that traveling by bike or by foot is much healthier for us and certainly the planet. But conflict between cyclists, pedestrians and cars is an issue in cities all over the world. Can everyone be happy? We'll take a look at the French capital and its plans for 2025. Is Paris ready for a traffic revolution?
For many, Paris is the most beautiful city in the world. For others, it's a traffic nightmare. Driving their cars was something Parisians long took for granted, but the city is increasingly restricting it. The latest measure, a traffic calming zone in the city centre. Car fan Nathalie Troussard is sceptical. She feels the Paris metro doesn't offer a good alternative. There are no elevators in the metro. When you have a stroller and 3 small children, you have to drive. Corentin Roudot doesn't agree. He does everything by bike, and statistically speaking, he's following a trend. More trips are now taken by bike in Paris than by car. We think the space given to cars must be further reduced, and bad behaviour should be punished too, both by drivers and cyclists. We really need more traffic-calmed spaces in public areas. The newly established zone should also contribute to this. Since early November, Paris has banned through traffic in the city centre. If you're coming by car or motorbike, you need a valid reason, such as a visit to a doctor. Visiting restaurants and shopping are also permitted, but driving through is prohibited. It means less air pollution, less noise, and more safety too, especially on the roads. And the icing on the cake is that it's more fun to visit and go shopping in the area. For now, the police are instructing drivers on the new regulations. But from May 2025, failure to comply will set you back €135. We meet some of those who are not happy with the city's traffic changes. Apparently, I'm in the bus lane here. I didn't even notice. He told me that it's okay this time. Soon you won't be able to drive in Paris at all. I just want to drive through. It's a shame they're banning it. Nathalie Troussard is involved in an association for drivers' rights. But I have to admit, there's less traffic, and that's due to the new city regulations. However, like many others, she has her doubts on how the new traffic-calmed zone will be monitored. How do you prove that you're having dinner with friends? How do you justify the fact that you didn't get the thing that you drove into the zone to buy after all? Even the authorities aren't yet clear on how the monitoring will look in practice. Despite setbacks and conflicts, cyclist Corentin Roudot believes the city is on the right track. We're optimistic that Paris will be a 100% bicycle-friendly city in a few years. We're on the right path. The transport revolution has come to the French capital. Some say it's way too strict, while others believe it's the only way forward.
Let's turn back to Africa. Now, rising temperatures and changing rainfall patterns have made many places drier than ever before. In rural parts of northern Ghana, many people have to spend hours each day collecting drinking water. It's a task that largely falls to women, now impacting their lives and livelihoods. But one community has found a way to better manage this precious resource, bringing multiple benefits.
Whenever water comes to the surface, Amina Mohammed scoops it up. Slowly, painstakingly, she and the other women of Anafobisi collect what they can at a reservoir that's run dry. To restore its capacity, it would need to be dug deeper, but there's no money for that here.
When the dry season starts, our struggles for water begin. We spend many hours looking for it every day. We pray that someone will help us dredge our dam. If we spent less time searching for water, we'll probably have more time to do work that could improve our lives.
This part of Ghana has been hard hit by climate change. Drought is common, and when the dry season finally ends, the rains are usually so intense that flooding ensues as the water runs off the hard, dry soil rather than replenishing the groundwater. About 4,000 people live in the village of Anafobisi, near the border of Burkina Faso. They share the water from 3 wells and 2 boreholes. Just how much can be pumped out varies throughout the day. Analysts say drilling more boreholes would do little to alleviate the water scarcity. Some have even been capped because they've run dry or because the water had too much fluoride, which can harm teeth and bones.
And so we need to go a step further to find out how we can help communities to secure the water resource itself.
In Anafobisi, volunteer Mercy Aduko now monitors closely how much water is actually available. Many residents came today before dawn to fetch water. By about 8 a.m., the level had dropped from 12 meters to about 50 centimeters, as so often in the dry season. Now the community has to decide how to get through the day with what remains.
We do this one to help our community people. When there is more water, we fight to do for our home work. But there is time that, a period of time that the water will reduce. And this area, we are lack of water, we are not getting water. So this world, if we are using it to do building and construction or other things, the water will not reach the time we want to be using.
Tracking rainfall amounts also helps the community become more resilient. Here, another volunteer from the village talks to local farmers about how long-term rain patterns affect groundwater levels. It's crucial information that will help the farmers decide which crops to plant this year.
When the rain falls, we now look at them, they tell us, they explain to us, and then we also do to understand. So when the rain falls, every year, the year that it falls in the time way, then we also follow the way they talk to us. And then we also follow the right way for transplanting.
Meanwhile, Mercy Aduko is about to brief a group of villagers who are waiting to hear about today's water level. And as so often, she tells them there's not much left. That means construction work in the village has to stay on hold. They cannot afford to use the water to make concrete. The group decides how to ration the remaining water, who can use what's left, and for what purpose. This common approach helps reduce the sort of conflicts about water which used to be common.
People would take whatever they please. Some might come with 4 drums, even though we were supposed to take less to make it go round. It always led to arguments.
Today, Apala Ayamga's household has been allocated just a few liters from the village well. Still, the water plan helps her manage her time more effectively. If the well had run dry for the day, she would have had to walk many kilometers to fetch the water she needs. But now, she has time to make her dawa dawa spice blend, which she sells for extra income.
Telling us how much water is available helps us know when to fetch water and when to work on our businesses. We can plan how to use the water and still get other work done.
The people of Anafobisi are coping with the water scarcity as best they can. Digging out the dried-up reservoir could help, but so far, it hasn't been a political priority. That's part of why the community here feels abandoned by the government. Measuring groundwater won't fix Anafobisi's water scarcity, but it does help the community share what it has more fairly and live more peacefully, and gives them a better chance of coping with climate adversity.
That's all we have for today's show. Has something inspired you? We love hearing from you. You can write to us at echo@dw.com. I'm Malama Mukonde in Lusaka, Zambia, and I hope to see you soon. You can find more stories about sustainability on our continent and beyond by searching for EcoAfrica online.
Thanks, Malama. It's been a pleasure hosting our show together. And so it's goodbye from me, Chris Alems in Lagos, Nigeria too. Thanks for watching, and we hope you tune back in for the next episode.